Every month, Cyber Collective hosts creative research events to educate and inform on technical topics related to data ethics, security, and privacy. Thank you for joining us. Let's jump right in.
That honestly ended perfectly. It's 5:05, so I feel like we can go ahead and get started. I know the timing has just been insane. But welcome everybody. Welcome to another creative research event. Has anybody here been to a research event before with us, or is this anybody's first time at a research event? First time, yay.
Nice to have you.
Okay, yeah, welcome. So let's go ahead and cover our mission. So for those of you who are new and for those of you who have been here before, our mission isn't to empower people to think critically about their relationship with the internet while helping them become more secure and private online. We do this through creating relatable content on Instagram and other social media platforms. You may have seen me in the reels, as well as Farah and her amazing posts. And then also at monthly creative research sessions like the one you're at today. We do this through our specific method. So we educate you on a topic, assess your knowledge, and then analyze how that affects you and your relationship with the internet. And we are all about authenticity, inclusivity, and community. Everybody here, including the Cyber Collective team, we're all here learning and unlearning. So we ask that you help us make this a fun environment to learn and unlearn together. And with all of that being said, I'm going to pass it over to the one and only Farah.
And so tonight's going to be a little different, actually. The Gen Zers are taking over, and we're kicking the Millennial Zers to the side. Sorry, Caro, I know you heard, but it's all love. But finally, onto our event, Bills, Bills, Bills. Yes, obviously, we chose our event based on Destiny's Child. Like, what other way is there a way to go about it? So for tonight, our goal is to share information about what's happening surrounding our privacy in a few states to energize you all to continue to learn more. This isn't necessarily going to be a deep dive, but it is going to be a semi-dive into the ins and outs of the bills. Mostly, this is a session for comprehension and a chance to think critically about how these bills will affect people, us, and even especially activists. And so I'm going to keep my chat open too, just so I can see what everyone's saying. There's so many things going on. But so the first thing that I wanted to disclose was the IAPP, which is the International Association of Privacy Professionals, is one of our favorite resources on how to track digital privacy legislation in the United States. As you can see, it was that I last checked. Streaming connection lost. Good now, because it just said streaming connection lost, and okay, and now I'm back. So hopefully that doesn't happen again. And so I was talking about how they're pretty up to date with what they put onto their website, because the last time I checked, it was, it was June 29th, which was the last time I checked it. So they're pretty up to date with what's happening with legislation. Specifically on the map, you can see that there's a lot of steps that states need to go through in order to sign a bill into a law. And even if the bill has been passed, it won't be in effect until it's been signed in for some of these states. As of now, the only states that have data privacy laws signed are California and Virginia. And Colorado now just recently got their bill passed. And as you can see, like the blue that's on the map too, like the rest of these states show little to no movement as they're only in the committee right now. And so the bills that we're going to be talking about mostly cover consumer data and how businesses are allowed to use that data. They mainly impact consumers and businesses that profit off of or utilize consumer data. I think I'm back. I'm so sorry, guys. Okay, yay, I'm back. And so they mainly impact the consumers and businesses that profit off of and utilize consumer data. They also affect businesses from an ad and marketing perspective, especially in places like California, where a lot of the data that was once available for ad marketing will now be very limited. Can see when I'm going off and on, so hopefully like I'm able to track and not say too much. And so on the screen you can see that the states that have been signed off are California and Virginia, and this is huge because as you saw the slide before that there are so many states that are trying to go towards this state, but they're not able to get there yet. And so a privacy bill was approved by Colorado just a few days ago, but the governor has yet to sign it. If he does and this bill becomes a law, consumers would have to be allowed to opt out of all online data collection by using the Global Privacy Control browser setting. Yes, I said Virginia. I'm so excited for Virginia, but also I'm like hesitant because as you're looking more and more deeper into it, it is towards the right direction, but it's also like there's still so many loopholes that we have to consider. And so I'm going to dive deep into that. But yeah, it is Virginia. So I'm excited for Virginia. And what's not in the picture actually, but just was approved was Connecticut has a bill called an act concerning data privacy breaches. And so it's a measure that will enhance and strengthen Connecticut's data breach notification law. This is stemming from the concerns of sensitive information being leaked all too often in data breaches. So like any data breach you can think about, if a company like Red Eye was based in Connecticut, then it would probably be like if they were data breached from an unknown source, Connecticut would have that power to protect their consumer privacy. Should I try logging out and logging back in, or do I sound okay? Okay. Just let me know. I also don't know how to work Demio to the best of its capacity, so okay, it's good for you guys now. And so now I'm going to be more specific for California. And so California was the first state to enact a data privacy law where it was passed in 2018, but it was in full use by January 2020. So a 2-year gap between that. And being the first state to enact data privacy law, there's a lot of good that went down, but there's still a lot of room for better consumer privacy. Consumers will have the right to know, like the first bullet is that consumers will have the right to know, though a general privacy policy or notice, what personal information a business has collected about them, its source, and the purpose for which it's being used. And then more on companies can provide or make consumer data available to third parties for money, must disclose that the consumer's data is being sold. So if a company is selling it to a third party, they have to tell the consumer that's using the company's product that they're selling it to the third party. And then something I found really interesting was that consumers will have the right to request certain information from businesses. Like if they're taking your data, you have the right to ask them what kind of data they're taking. And you can request that free of charge for 45 days. But free of charge, think about that. Free of charge for 45 days. What about after those 45 days? And that's where the pay for privacy scheme kind of sneaks out. I'll elaborate more that on the next slide. And so overall, as I discussed in the slide prior, is that the CCPA was a step forward for consumer privacy, but it also has some weaknesses for it too. And as I mentioned, many companies can and are narrowly interpreting the law just to justify not changing how they operate with consumer privacy. And they also have the opt-out model, which places a burden on consumers to opt out on their own, one by one, for all the companies that have their data. So like that could literally be hundreds and thousands of millions of just like accept, decline, accept, decline. Like imagine how like when you go on a website and it says, do you want to accept these cookies? Like imagine that like times 100 based on everything that you use on your phone, on your laptop. And so that opt-out model kind of overwhelms you to the point that you feel obligated to be the default. And because of these loopholes in the CCPA, the CPRA was used to amend the CCPA. And so the benefit of the CPRA is that it may benefit consumers in a short term by closing up targeted advertising loopholes and strengthening the enforcement. But again, it has weaknesses with consumer privacy still. And so I mentioned the pay for privacy scheme, and I'm going to explain that a little more right now. Think about the businesses that will allow to give discounts to consumers if those consumers let the businesses collect very specific data about their shopping habits. So the businesses will also be allowed to sell that data. I think I'm back. It's still saying refresh my browser. Okay, I think I'm back. And I was talking about pay for privacy. And so what I was saying was that, so these businesses will allow discounts for consumers if the consumers let the businesses take their specific habits, like shopping habits. And the businesses will also allow to sell that data and profit off of it. So you're giving them permission to sell your data. And they're going to profit off of it. And of course, you can disclaim it. That's your right? But only within the 45 days that I mentioned. Like you have to know within the first 45 days, but after that, you have to pay for it. And that just doesn't make sense. You'd have to pay more. And especially because most of this data isn't under your radar until it's already used. And like, that's questionable in itself, but it's also like in a whole, it's going to worsen inequality in disproportionate impact borne by the people who can afford it the least. So even if I want to protect myself after the 45 days, if I'm incapable of paying for that, I guess this is just going to be a thing. But I think I'm back again. And so the pay for privacy scheme, that's the whole thing in itself. And another thing is the opt-out model. So they had a missed opportunity to fix the opt-out model, as I mentioned. And so opt-in at least puts the default at privacy preserving. However, there's another side to this. Opt-in might better be on the surface, but it can also induce more consent fatigue. Like I mentioned before, like think about how you feel when you see tons of cookie banners everywhere and then you just feel like, okay, I'm going to accept all of it just so I can use this product. So the opt-in and opt-out models are still individual consent-based frameworks that place the burden on the individual instead of like the company. So this is a burden should be borne by the companies using and making decisions about our data. If we're thinking about data privacy laws, shouldn't we think about the consumers rather than the companies? And then also, along with that, is it expands the power of businesses to refuse consumer requests to delete. So you can ask them what data are they taking, and you can request to delete that data too. But what's worse is that the CPRA will allow businesses to refuse to pass along a consumer's deletion request to downstream companies that they sold or shared info with. So even if you say, like, can you delete my data, they have their own right to be like, no, like, I'm gonna still sell this information to third party companies. And so that's just like, those are just the three downsides that we were able to pick out, but there are more. And that's within you and your capacity to look at your specific state, and if they have a legislation going on, to see specifically how it applies to you. And so that's for California. And now for Virginia, it's similar to the CCPA and the CPRA, and Virginia is on its way for data privacy legislation, specifically for Governor Northam. So he was the one that enacted this in the first place. He wanted to kind of follow on data privacy and how it's been impacted from the CCPA. But notice where when you're reading this and it's saying, like, what rights do you have with this new law? And the first bullet point is choosing whether or not. Think about that. It's saying choosing. And so this is extremely key, since they're basically saying that you can opt out. This is another word for saying opt out, but the word choosing makes you feel like you have some sort of power, right? Which you do, but if you remember to manually change your settings, and like we've stated before, sometimes we can bypass all those messages just so a pop-up can leave us alone. And so in that simple way, we remain the default of the companies taking our data. So yeah, I have the liberty and all of that, but can't my default just be my protection in general? And when I was also reading more about Virginia and this new data privacy law, the EFF, which is Electronic Frontier Foundation, which is another really great resource, was saying specifically this about the law. And so they said, consumer privacy must be the foundation of any real privacy bill. The CDPA was written without meaningful input from consumer advocates. In fact, as the protocol reported, it was handed to the bill's sponsor by an Amazon lobbyist. And think about that. It was handed by an Amazon lobbyist. Amazon is big tech, which means big tech approves this data privacy bill when we know big tech is the one that's taking our data and stopping our data privacy. So is this really for the people, or is this kind of a loophole for big tech to take more without seeming like they're taking more? Right? I don't know. Thoughts? Concerns? I'm kind of scared. Big tech, big problems. Exactly. And now
I don't have a specific question.
I just
more
wanted to
like
say,
food
like,
for thought.
does anybody remember this? Because me and Becca were going off about just, I'm just a boo. Yeah, I'm only a boo. Yeah, let me see the chat. Yes, exactly. Like 5th grade flashback. This is me. Like, U.S. government, there's a lot of things to talk about U.S. government for, and in the fact that it's been censored all my life and it's practically been whitewashed, but like, this is the only good thing that I got out of U.S. government. But this is like, yeah, this is the only reason why I know the process too. And so that's just to segue onto Colorado, which is still just a bill. And so I'll be honest, Colorado's bill just got passed, and so it has yet to be signed, as I mentioned, for it to actually go into effect. So usually if it's passed, it'll be signed within the 2 years. So like Now it's 2021. It might get signed in 2023 and then fully in motion 2 years after that. So 2025. And so it seems like a big thing for Colorado right now, but like we probably won't see it until 2025. And that kind of shows like technology outpacing government in a scary way. So this is great for Colorado, but I'll come back to y'all at 2025 because I mean, even Virginia, we just got past, but 2023, I'll see y'all then. But for now, I'm gonna keep defaulting, not defaulting, opting out instead of opting in. And so, like I literally mentioned right now, California got passed in 2018, then 2020, it was finally in action. And then now it got amended in 2021. You won't see it in full effect until 2023. All these numbers, all this government talk is like basically just, it's giving us hope. Obviously, it's giving us hope, but I'm just like, 2023, 2025, when are you coming? And even then, like, how will, like it's good right now for the time being, but when 2025 comes, like, will the same apply then? I don't know. There's a lot to think about. Yeah, big sigh. But how does this help and how does this hurt? And so this is primarily like, how can the bills potentially impact activists? And so it provides a lot of online protection specifically for places like California, Virginia, and Colorado. But on the flip side, like we kind of tapped into earlier, one can assume like we're getting rid of this loophole now, but businesses can still be looking for other ways to get our data specifically from California and Virginia residents. And maybe they'll dedicate even more time to develop a new loophole on finding our data. Like, we're thinking about how Amazon is talking with the government and making this data privacy law. Is this actually for consumers or is it for all the big tech companies? And so we even mentioned opt-in. And so opt-in gives people the liberty to manually change it, but will the average consumer actually change it? Like, I know y'all are in here and y'all will change it, but will your friends, unless you tell them? Or, you know, like, is my mom or is my dad going to manually change that for themselves? Or do I have to go into their phone and do that for them themselves? So it's all about thinking about who is actually going to do it. And I know everyone on here better do it, but it's all about showing people the way, basically. And so aside from all of that like good news, kind of scary news, the one good thing or like good things that have been happening this week for consumer privacy is that Baltimore PD has their usage of their aerial surveillance was deemed unconstitutional. And I don't know, that's a really good thing because thinking about surveillance in general and facial recognition, just the technology, it can be biased, as we probably always mentioned within Cyber Collective. Another thing that we saw, but it's not on the screen, is that there's a news article that states that Maine law restricted facial recognition statewide, and it even became a law without the governor's signature. So it kind of shows like the power within community that we're seeing throughout all of these movements and the community building that we see. And even like within Cyber Collective, all of our research events, like informing people so that they can get out there within their local governments and local communities to see what's happening within their consumers and their citizens. Exactly. Imagine a drone pulling up to your window. I don't know, I'd kind of be scared about that. And that's all. I kind of was looking at the chat, but also not. But if anybody has questions, please pull up to The stage, I'm not sure how to pull people up, actually. Does anybody have questions?
It comes to big companies like Google and Amazon, and even the fact that they're the ones who are writing privacy legislation, which is obviously concerning. I also wonder how far the privacy legislation can reach within their organizations, because, for example, Google has an umbrella company called Alphabet, and Alphabet has so many companies within it. So I wonder, like, are they still allowed to share information within themselves? And then, because Google already owns everything, does it even mean anything if I like say, please don't share my data, because Google is such a massive company? So just more things that I think we still have yet to really discuss within like our legislation. Yeah.
It's scary because you think about all of your data that's out there, but also which companies are specifically looking at it. So like if we're thinking about Amazon and their connection, I know that they had a connection to ICE, but I don't know the current standing of that. But using that facial recognition in your data towards like that versus like Google, I'm not specifically sure with them, but they are probably using it for your geographical location just for like, you know, their Google Earth or something. And it's like all of this data is going somewhere, but like, how can I keep track of all of that? So that's why.
It also, when you were mentioning how basically we have to go into our settings and like manually say, oh, no to this, no to this, no to this. I made an account today and had to verify my email address. And even just verifying my email address is like a task I will push off. So I absolutely have to like go into my email, find the email, click verify. So I'm imagining if like even little tasks like that still get pushed off, nobody's going to go into their account settings and read the privacy policy and say yes or no to different things.
Yeah, like we're talking about it, and I feel like we're all pretty like digital, like hygiened up, but like still, I don't think I am.
Yeah,
There's always something to look at, which I'm scared about. I'm like, this is all that I can do. This is my capacity.
Brooke said, it's interesting to think about how credit card companies can sell your financial info to big tech like Amazon, so therefore getting more personalized products in your price range to pop up on your home screen. Yes, that is even Instagram ads. So the way that it affects our financial situations is insane. Even in one of our creative research events, Caro talked about how it affects some people's lending capabilities, and some people turn off personalized ads because they actually have a problem with purchasing things, and it encourages them to spend more when they need to be saving. So definitely.
And even I'm thinking about our research for like something way long ago about Google and how like personalized they put us in buckets.
You can check it out too. We have a post. I'll make sure to share it again. So creepy. Angela said, do you guys think gather data could be used to negatively target specific communities? Do you want to? I kind of just mentioned one example with predatory lending. They will, if you are a person of color or in a low-income area, you may get predatory loans, or you just won't be able to qualify for apartments or a house to live in, for example, just because they have so much data on you.
Bella just said, I just finished reading The Big Four, which talked all about the data Google has, even from our searches, which they sell to other people. Yeah. So basically, if your email, which is always like linked to whatever browser you're on, it's linked to your searches. And because of that, if you look into your personalization like settings, it'll say like which specific groups you're under. So it'll say like probably your income or your household size or like your favorite jewelry store. Like, you know, Becca made a post about putting on Tiffany's, and the next time like it came up in her, it came up as an advertisement. So It's whoever's within your house even too. It's all within an IP address. It's just a whole wormhole.
And then I think Ashley wanted to come on stage, maybe?
Yes.
I don't know if you still have much.
Let me see. I think everybody has the ability to get on stage.
Yeah, there's a post that was circulating earlier. I'm just reading Chelsea's comment, but your phones will talk to the other phones that are around the device. Like, okay, that was a terrible explanation, but if there's other devices around you, yeah, I started bad. Other devices around you will like talk to each other, and you'll start getting ads for the people that are around you. There was a post recently, I think it was toothpaste or something like that. She started getting ads for the toothpaste her parents use just because she visited them.
And I think the way that it was made, like the person that got the advertisement for the toothpaste didn't search it up themselves, but because they were within the same vicinity as their parents and their parents searched it up, then yeah, basically it talked to the other phone and made the ad out. Oh, I'm sad. Oh, let me try and invite you again. But yeah, just drop it in the chat. Yes, I think. What's your take on the change for privacy with Venmo? Did you make a post about that, Becca?
Not yet. I haven't read into it recently. I know the biggest thing that I saw is just more so how they're going to start charging service fees for small businesses, but
yeah,
I haven't gone deep into their privacy policy yet.
I haven't gone deep into it, but I think what I saw, I also don't want to say the wrong thing, but do you think that because of that controversy, that's why they have like their new giveaway for the $500 thing, so then people wouldn't care about?
That's exactly what I was thinking today. I saw that post and I was like, oh, okay, like try and make it look like you're giving away money. Like, just don't charge service fees for small businesses.
Just gift all the small businesses then with those $500, multiple of $500. Like, what's the problem? You have it out to give out.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because so if you don't classify your transaction as like a service transaction, they're going to start going through people's transactions. And if it looks like it was a service transaction, they will still charge you, which is crazy because they basically, again, they have access to go through and determine whether or not they think you were providing a service. I don't have a specific, I'm looking right now to see if I can find the resources that we had for the predatory lending, but I'd have to go back and look at it, but I know we have them somewhere. I would just have to dig it. Of course. Yeah, no, seriously, it's crazy because even like babysitting, I'm a freelancer personally, and I definitely was using Venmo to avoid seller's fees. And I mean, just kind of have to embrace it now, I guess, because there aren't really any options.
You gotta embrace it.
Yeah, and like normally larger businesses or larger individuals that have more money, it doesn't really make a big difference. But when you're paying a seller's fee and then you're setting aside 30% for taxes, that $1,000 turns into $600 real quick. So
That's like, I don't even know. Like, why Target?
yeah. But yeah. Anybody else have any questions?
I wish we could bring more people on the stage. I feel like it's just me and Becca on a podcast right now.
Vibing.
Yes,
Thank you for
small
coming.
business alone.
Business shaming. There's a whole thread. There's Thank you for coming. We appreciate you all so much.
Yeah. Looks like no more questions in the chat. Okay, I have a question for you guys, and you guys can drop it into the chat then. What other things do you guys want to learn about? Like, I know we talked about the bills, and Venmo is a big thing, but what other topics are you guys just wanting to protect yourself from? I'm here for the podcast.
I love it.
What should our podcast be called also?
I'm like Gen Z versus big tech.
How educators can help with privacy for college students. I feel like if I wasn't within this space, would have no idea as a college student, because everything is free in college. I mean, like, if you're on campus, everything is free. Is that making sense? Like,
Yeah.
you go around, you're on free campus Wi-Fi, you are just accepting anything just for a free, like, swag bag or something. You're signing up for all of these things. This is me, like, first year of college. Like, I just wanted all the swag, and I didn't want to pay for it, so I signed up for everything. I don't know whose subscribers list I'm on.
So bad. There was also, first of all, there's a really cool service called unroll.me, and they actually like help you unsubscribe to a bunch of stuff. I had to use that the other day to like get rid of email subscriptions. But one thing that helped even just me personally understand my impact, because I just graduated college. So as far as privacy goes, I think is like trying to communicate that even if you don't have anything to lose, you are a connection to someone else. And if you click on a link and they get on that computer, but somebody else logs in, like that person will also be affected. And it just takes one person to take down an entire company, which is another entire crazy thing to think about. Like one phishing email can literally take everybody down.
What's the website? Oh, Unroll Me?
Yeah, Carrie actually put it in the post, in the comments.
I'm going to use it.
Yeah, it's helpful. But yes, just understanding that you are a connection to somebody else.
Like, you're all the way in Texas, and I'm in Virginia, but if somebody knew something about me, they know something about you, because we're connected, even though we're states across. I don't even talk to my neighbor that much, but I'm connected to them.
Can we try to add Ashley to the stage one more time?
Let's see. The thing about Demio is that it'll say invite to stage, and then right under it, it'll say ban attendee. So I'm really trying hard not to press.
We had that happen at our last event. We accidentally banned someone. So we don't want to do that to you.
I think you should be able to come up on stage, because it's not showing that as an option. So I think it's open for you.
But like, fingers crossed.
Oh, fingers crossed.
I have bills stuck in my head now.
I'm a bill. Yeah, I'm only your
Oh
bill.
no, I was talking Destiny's Child.
No,
it's
I'm so
okay.
sorry, Ashley. I wish I had magical powers, but I'm not a tech god.
Yo, yeah, for again, small business, just me also being a freelancer, that Venmo update was definitely very, very shocking to me. I thought that came out of nowhere. And I remember seeing an email, they were like, we're updating our privacy policy. But I mean, like, you get one of those every 3 days from some random company trying to play you. So, um,
That's the one thing I saw. I didn't know about the small businesses, but I did know about that. And I think it was because of
Joe Biden, they found it. People were requesting their $1,000.
people requesting their stimulus check.
Okay, I did read about that.
Where's my stimmy, Jimmy? Oh wait, no.
Yeah, I mean, luckily, so I mean, anybody that has a Venmo, please definitely make your transactions private. So you do not need people knowing what you spend money on at all.
Yeah. And like the one things you'd want to keep public are probably like the small businesses that you buy from. And even then, like, you can't do that because of the privacy policy. Like,
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely like letting out a lot of information about you, like what day you pay rent, what day you pay your phone bill, like
oh my
information that you don't really need other people to know. Because I mean, for example, I'm on a family plan, so I just like I use Venmo to pay my sisters that money. Yeah.
I wish you were on stage, Ashley. This would be
Scammers will find a way to scam. Well, okay, so Venmo is owned by PayPal. So they are already making money from sellers' fees via PayPal and the PayPal credit card and the Venmo credit card. I think they all have their own services. I think that's how they've been making their money, but I guess they didn't have enough. So
they didn't have enough. It's like Google with Alphabet.
Yeah, instant fees, like Chelsea just said, if you need to like deposit right away. Funny thing, I liked the Venmo post, I think from my Instagram account, and immediately 2 fake Venmo profile pages followed me. And I'm guessing they're bots that like as soon as somebody new likes it, they just go follow them. But that alone is a scam. Like they're like, claim your prize, like click the link to claim your money. And the scammers are gonna scam.
Scammers are gonna scam. Like even if they're not looking at you specifically, they're gonna touch all their bases. And if you catch on to that, like, oops. I always like.
Oh wow, I did not know about that. About people's addresses showing.
Yeah, I didn't know that one. Do you have an article about that by chance that you can link it to us? Thank you.
Yeah, I will never pay the however many dollars to transfer the money immediately. I'm good.
I will wait, and then I'll probably forget until the next time I check my account. When you say address, do you mean like physical location or like email address? Oh my gosh. Oh my god.
That's crazy.
IP or IP.
We just put so much trust in these companies and we assume that they're watching out for us, but they're really not.
I'm scared.
But
like, should I even be on here right now?
Yeah. It's cool that even like within just our group now today that all of us are aware now that this is happening, because I mean, it really does start with awareness and being able to talk about have the conversation. Gotcha. Because like with PayPal, some people are using it for transactions and your billing information is out. And it seems like, looking at the situation, it seems like such an obvious thing to watch out for, but just let's do.
But with like everything else that you have to keep an account for,
Yeah.
it just.
So I would say it's similar to the way that we are just putting our lives in the hands of big tech. You are putting your life into the hands of whatever company that you're using to buy and sell Bitcoin. Like Ethereum, for example, you're just,
I would say
they have their privacy in check.
If it's
Oh no, I don't know if she froze. I think also with just the decentralization, it'll keep the transaction private, so it'll be hard to tell who is actually making the transaction. So you won't see Rebecca just bought this, but if somebody can get past that. And again, I guess that just really goes back into the company, hoping that the company is looking out for us. But I think that like we as consumers also have much more power than we think. I think that if enough people were to reach out to these companies and be like, hey, what are you doing to protect me here? Ooh, let me try it. Once Farah comes back, we can try and add you one more time, Ashley, because she is the admin, I think. Oh, yay!
Is Ashley finally on screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Ashley, for learning Demio with us today.
Yes. I had to leave just for you to come on, so I don't know. My connection is also crazy.
Okay. Yes. Hi guys. Okay, so I was trying to find the like if there was an article, but it came out because there was a tweet, and I'm gonna put it in the chat if I can get my computer to work. But when Twitter put up this this tipping function, because they were like, oh, you love these creators, you love these people that are talking to you on Twitter and you want to support them, and it was connected to PayPal. And so people were saying, hey, major heads up, when someone like they tried to tip someone because it was going through PayPal, they were like, my actual address popped up on here. Because for a lot of people, when they're using PayPal, since it's linked to your bank account, you'll see like if you're ordering like a shirt or something and you pay through PayPal, they have your billing information. And so like all of that was included, and people were like, oh, we really need to be thinking about that. I don't know if there was an actual news article about it, but this was something that came up, and they were like, they tested, this was like in May, but they were saying if when you open it, it opens like huge heads up on PayPal, Twitter tip jar. If you send a person using a tip, when the receiver opens up the receipt from the tip you sent, they get your address. Just tested to confirm by tipping Yashar on Twitter with PayPal. And he did in fact get my address. I tipped him, and it was like money received, shipped to, and it puts their actual address on there. So it was crazy, crazy. So definitely. And then the other Venmo PayPal thing, like you guys were talking about, was about the President Biden, they found his transactions, and then, okay, we're going to wipe everything up now. But now maybe you don't have to have your stuff public. But like you guys were saying, how many people are going to look and say, okay, I'm going to check this off, because it's so easy to download so much of that data from Venmo. There was someone who was talking about how they're like, I'm not even like a good hacker, but I tried it, and they were able to mine just so much data, because they're like, if you go to Venmo right now, you can, like, obviously when you open it up, you see all these transactions from people you don't even know. It's like, hey, this person that knows someone you went to high school with that maybe you're connected with on Facebook or whatever, here is, they paid someone money for chicken wings or a football game or whatever. And so they were saying that hackers, they can kind of mine all of that information, and then, all they have to do is say like, oh, I'm going to pretend that I'm this person, and maybe I'll send you an email, or I'll say, hey, don't forget such a thing, and make a request. And you think it's something valid, and you don't necessarily go and like double check with your roommate or whoever else. And you're just like, oh yeah, no problem. It seems so harmless at face value, but then boom, all of a sudden you've given money to the bad people, or just in general, like there's so many different security issues that come up, and no one necessarily really thinks about it. So yeah.
And like harvest so much data, it only takes one person to like have a payday for a hacker. So it's just like statistically someone's gonna fall for it, which is the unfortunate part, because that's kind of what they're betting on. They know that some people are going to be like, no, this is fake, but it just takes one person. So I will have to thank you so much, Ashley. Literally, that was amazing. I'm so glad that we got it to work. I'll have to find the article. I feel bad because I wish I had these already, but there is a issue going on in some states where private investigators are able to buy data from DMVs and use it for private, or even bounty hunters are able to buy information from DMVs and then like go find the people. And there's actually multiple lawsuits. I know there's even multiple in Texas because the DMV is selling our data to bounty hunters. Yeah, like that shouldn't be allowed. It makes no sense. Like, who let that happen? And it's something that happens. It's happening in multiple states. I don't know off the top of my head, but that is a whole thing. So we, again, hope that these government agencies are doing it, but I think especially government agencies, my husband's in the military, but he just like, even hearing from some of the things and like where they're at, they're behind. Like, yeah, like they have some cool technology. I guess they have like cool fighter planes, but a lot of times like their technology is out of date. Especially DMV, like organizations that aren't on the military side, like more on the civilian side, it's old computers, same default passwords. They don't get education on how they should be protecting themselves.
They're probably, in terms of like government with technology, they're probably like 2 or 5 years back.
Minimum, yeah.
Minimum. Even for like patents, like you can submit a patent right now and you probably won't hear back until 2 years later. And that's for like upcoming innovations as well. So just think about, I don't even know, like, is what's going to happen in 2023 actually going to be applicable in 2023?
Yay! Thank you, Angela.
Hey.
Yeah, I know it's 6 o'clock, so I want to respect everyone's time. Have a great night, Ashley. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess we can hang off, or if people don't ask questions.
You're amazing, Ashley.
No, yeah, you're amazing. No, you.
Thank y'all for hanging out.
Yeah, we're just vibing
with us. Yeah, this was so fun.
Next time you'll hear from us is our podcast.
Exactly.
Sneak peek.
You can stay plugged in with us. I'd say the best way is through Instagram. We are on Cyber Collective's Instagram all the time. And we try to do these events monthly. So we should be figuring out what's going on soon.
Maybe.
But if you, to stay up to date with that, I would, you can subscribe to our newsletter. You can sign up through our website, and then also cybercollective.org on Instagram.
We are manifesting in-person events. Let's see if it happens one day.
That'd be so fun. Bye.
Yeah.
I want an in-person psycho event. That'd be so fun.
Yeah. I want it like right now.
Yeah, same here. Lady, I said later. I can't even talk. Lady energy. I love it. Bye, Carrie.
I guess we can jump off now.